A special prisoner had just arrived at the prison. One casual glance from him at the heavily armed guards was enough to make them all hurriedly lower their weapons. The old inmates excitedly rushed toward the gate, and even the warden had dressed up carefully, preparing to welcome him in person. That was because he was none other than Eugene Irwin, the legendary 3-star U.S. Army general. He had earned countless honors for his country and commanded enormous respect in the military. Almost everyone saw him as an idol, but during one mission, he disobeyed a direct order from the president and acted on his own, which led to the deaths of more than 20 soldiers. He was court-martialed. Even then, he never tried to use his rank to defend himself. Instead, he willingly accepted the punishment and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. On his first day in prison, Irwin received the warden's highest level of hospitality, and the warden enthusiastically introduced him to the place. The prison itself had been converted from an abandoned castle, and all of its inmates were military men who had made mistakes. The warden liked collecting trophies. He had never actually been to battle, but he treated those items with great care. Among his prized possessions was General Irwin's autobiography, which he especially loved. He was just about to ask Irwin for an autograph when he happened to overhear a conversation between the general and his aide. Irwin picked up a bullet and said that only people who had never been to war would collect little pieces of metal like that, because real soldiers only felt endless pain when they saw them. Those words instantly darkened the warden's face. He couldn't tolerate such open humiliation and disdain. He immediately ordered Irwin sent back to his cell and forbade anyone from saluting him. In this prison, he was the boss, and everyone else was nothing more than prisoners who had simply taken off their uniforms. But even that wasn't enough for him. The next day, during inmate recreation time, he deliberately handed out only one basketball, hoping to spark a fight over it. The guards around them not only looked the other way, but even secretly handed over weapons. It wasn't until both sides were bloodied and battered that the warden finally ordered the alarm to be sounded. All the prisoners immediately lay down obediently. The newly arrived Irwin looked confused, but he could only follow suit and lie down as well. Watching the once mighty general lying at his feet like a bug finally satisfied the warden, and he walked away. One day, a prisoner named Sam excitedly saluted the general. He said he had once been a Marine and had served faithfully for 5 years, but had made a terrible mistake in a moment of impulse. As Sam grew more and more upset, Irwin stepped forward to comfort him. He told Sam that as long as he was willing to take responsibility and learn from his mistakes, he was still a good soldier. He told him to stand tall and live with dignity, and even kindly corrected the way he saluted. That warm moment was seen by the warden. He was furious and jealous of the respect Irwin naturally commanded among the prisoners. As for himself, despite being the warden, he had never enjoyed that kind of respect, so he ordered Sam to be punished. He had to stand in the rain all night in a salute posture. By the next morning, Sam was freezing and shaking uncontrollably, but the guards still refused to stop. Irwin already felt deeply guilty about the whole thing and could no longer bear to watch. He stepped forward and told Sam to lower his hand and go back to rest. When a guard came over to stop him, Irwin barked at him and warned that, by the rules, the punishment couldn't go past the next morning's wake-up call. But the guard didn't care about the rules at all. He raised his baton and was about to strike, only to be blocked by Irwin. Then the alarm suddenly went off. It looked like a large group of guards had been waiting for this, one after another. They came down hard with their batons. Irwin was beaten so badly he coughed up blood on the spot. Only then did the warden finally arrive. Smirking, he told Irwin that he was no longer a general and that he needed to know his place. He had to be punished for what he had just done. The warden punished him by making him move over 300 stones, each weighing more than 10 pounds. When the 3-star Army general took off his jacket, the scars from knife wounds and bullet holes covering his back left every prisoner in the room stunned. Instantly, they were filled with deep respect. Under the blazing midday sun at nearly 104 degrees, he expected the old general to humiliate himself in front of everyone. But what he didn't expect was that after decades of military service, the general had forged an unbreakable will of steel. The prisoners' initial mockery gradually turned into cheers of encouragement. When the last stone hit the ground, the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. The old general had won over every prisoner with his actions, but he had also ignited the warden's fury. The warden immediately ordered a change in punishment. Irwin had to move all the stones back to where they came from. Faced with this harassment, the prisoners stood up one by one to speak out for the general, but Irwin stayed silent. He knew the warden was deliberately trying to break him. Even drenched in sweat, he kept moving the stones back, one by one. By dusk, Irwin still hadn't collapsed. Once again, he had slapped the warden hard across the face with his resilience. When he was finally taken back to his cell, all the prisoners banged on their nameplates in unison. It was their way of showing the highest respect for the old general. Though Irwin had suffered greatly, he had won everyone's heart. In the prison yard stood a stone wall. The prisoners thought it was pointless, just another petty scheme by the warden to keep them busy, so they had always slacked off, and the wall was built sloppily. But after Irwin arrived, he noticed that some of the stones were carved with prisoners' names and ranks. To him, those men weren't just building a wall, they were building a castle to protect themselves. His words inspired the prisoners. Together, they tore down the wall, determined to rebuild their own castle. But since they were all soldiers, not masons, it wasn't easy. So Irwin recommended Sam, whose father had been a stonemason. Growing up around the trade, Sam knew a few tricks. Under his guidance, the prisoners worked together, and the conflicts between them gradually faded away as they passed stones from hand to hand. For days, rain or shine, they kept at it. Finally, a sturdy, neatly built stone wall stood proudly in the center of the prison yard. The prisoners who used to bully Sam now insisted that he be the first to carve his name on it, as a sign of their respect. That wall symbolized their unity. But to the warden, it was a threat, something he absolutely could not allow. Just as everyone was celebrating, a bulldozer slowly rolled into the yard, ready to knock down the wall. Sam immediately ran to stand in front of it. This was his creation, built with everyone's sweat and effort. The guards tried to push him away again and again, and his fellow inmates shouted for him to move. But he stood his ground like a soldier on the battlefield, firm and unyielding. Without hesitation, the warden ordered the guards to fire. A rubber bullet struck Sam in the temple, and he collapsed instantly, dead. Witnessing this, the general was filled with rage. The next morning, he gathered all the prisoners, lined them up, and led them in singing a military anthem. After everything that had happened, the soldier spirit buried deep inside these men had been awakened. The fighting spirit they had lost was finally coming back. A carefully planned prison riot was quietly underway. Irwin laid out the entire plan, under U.S. military law. The key to removing the warden was to strip him of control over the prison. The plan was to incite a riot, seize the watchtowers, take control of the guards, and finally hang the national flag upside down, signaling the prison's fall. If they could hold out until the warden's superiors arrived, his incompetence would be undeniable, and he'd be forced out. Everyone cheered at the news, everyone except one person. The warden had anticipated Irwin's rebellion and bribed Banner with a reduced sentence. That night, Banner went to meet the warden, but halfway through their conversation, passing inmates overheard and started yelling curses. The warden quickly ordered the eavesdropping prisoner locked up with no contact allowed. Knowing he had no way out, Banner hurried back to report the details the next morning. In truth, Banner had never betrayed Irwin. He was part of the plan all along. The earlier incident was a distraction to steal the flag from the warden's office. When the warden discovered the flag missing, he flew into a rage. He sent out a large number of guards, driving all prisoners into the yard and searching cells one by one, unaware he was falling into a classic diversion trap. At Irwin's signal, the gates were locked, and the operation began. Prisoners transported stones to build a temporary command post, stormed the mess hall to gather all trays as makeshift shields. Then one prisoner impersonated the warden and called headquarters, reporting a severe riot and ordering the release of all inmates. The first phase of the plan was complete. Next came the counterattack. The prisoners retrieved pre-prepared weapons and made Molotov cocktails from cooking oil. One by one, they destroyed the watchtowers. Another group built a catapult and launched projectiles at the warden's office. His prized possessions were smashed to bits, and another Molotov cocktail engulfed the office in flames. Prisoner morale soared as water cannons began firing. But Irwin had anticipated this. He arranged for the water valve to be shut off. The prisoners surged forward, and the situation spiraled out of control. Meanwhile, the warden's superior, alerted by the earlier call, led reinforcements at full speed. The desperate warden ordered an armed helicopter deployed to quell the riot before backup arrived. The helicopter attacked ruthlessly, but Irwin was ready. His men stuffed iron rods into the water cannon and reopened the valve, hooking the helicopter. Banner, a former pilot, climbed the chains, took out the pilot, and easily commandeered the helicopter. With a powerful tail swing, the helicopter destroyed the final watchtower. The warden had lost all ability to fight back. Irwin gave the order for the prisoners to line up and prepare to hang the flag upside down. But the warden had one last card, a special forces unit positioned high on the walls, fully armed. All prisoners were forced to lie down except Irwin, who boldly marched to the flagpole holding the flag. The furious warden ordered Irwin shot, but no one dared fire. The man was a legendary general, an idol to them all. Seeing that no one would obey his order, the humiliated warden pulled out his pistol and fired 4 shots. Irwin collapsed on the platform but used his last strength to hoist the flag. When the flag fluttered in the breeze, everyone realized it wasn't hung upside down. The old general would never do such a thing. Tears filled their eyes as they saluted Irwin. He had taught them a lesson in faith and loyalty with his life, restoring the prisoners' dignity and the honor of a true soldier.